What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside episode number 53 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, my pal. It is Ryan Ripken. Episode 53, this is the Christian Walker episode. So as we get into higher jersey numbers, it's getting harder and harder to find, A, guys that have worn the number for more than like a season, or B, like, you know, guys that are of prominence that wear 50s, because I don't know, it's not something that, like, when you get to a level of prominence in baseball, you probably you knock the jersey number down maybe 20 or so. But episode 53, Christian Walker, Ryan, Orioles legend Christian Walker, by the way. So it's a big episode.
A big episode. Well, first off, Justin, how are you doing? It's always great to be on with you. Christian Walker, though, honestly, South Carolina legend first and foremost. I remember,
Go Cox.
Even Go Cox, going down there, and I met him during an offseason when I was there my freshman year, and the thing was, I remember watching him so much on those successful runs for the Gamecocks, and I mean, everyone that I talked to and then just watching, it's like, if there's one thing that guy was put on the earth to do, it's to hit. That dude can just flat out rake, and he did. And then obviously I think he got drafted in the 4th round with the Orioles. I might have to fact check me with that, but then he waited out. I was right. Bingo. Yep. I know your guys. And which is awesome for him is that he finally found a home in Arizona, and it's worked out, and he had a really great year last year. We were talking about it before, like 39 bombs and 94 RBIs. You're super productive. The high jersey thing, though, is interesting because I always felt whatever they're going to give you to be in the big leagues, you'll take it. And sometimes if you have success, you're superstitious and you'll stay with it. So I'm curious if that was the case for him. Maybe he really likes 53. But regardless, we get to talk about Christian Walker with this episode title. So whatever gives us a reason to talk about him. Hope he has a great 2023 season.
Big Christian Walker guy. I remember when he came up in 2014 with the Orioles, had a cup of coffee, and I remember he had like his first big league home run. It's like, hey, it's like this guy, like, he'll be good in the future. And then, the 2014 Orioles were like my favorite team of all time. So, but it's weird. I looked at his baseball reference with the Orioles. He was 18, then he was 34. And then he went to Arizona and picked 53. So maybe there's like,
so he picked it.
Yes, it looks like
Interesting.
Also won a Gold Glove this year. So this guy, total package, Christian Walker, Go Cox.
Go Cox. And quickly, though, to keep this in mind, everyone's wondering, well, he had a great year. Orioles let a guy go. Like, keep in mind at the time, the Orioles had prime Chris Davis. And Chris Davis was hitting 50 bombs and hitting for a higher average and really being that productive player. Like, people forget that with Chris Davis. Chris Davis was on one for those X amount of years. Like, he earned his contract. I know people have a different feeling about how the contract ended, but Chris Davis was one of the most feared hitters in baseball. And that's just how the business works at times. Christian Walker wasn't going to fit with him in Baltimore's plan. And the beauty of it, which is awesome once you're in the game and around, he goes somewhere else, perseveres, and now has really solidified himself on hopefully what is an exciting Diamondback team coming up.
Ooh, we're going to talk a little bit about Diamondbacks here at the end here. But yeah, so it's episode 53, the Christian Walker episode. We have a lot to talk about today. The Hall of Fame ballot election results came out like an hour before we started taping this. So we have a lot of fun stuff. But before we get to that, we have a quick word by our sponsor of the Breaking Bats podcast, Som Sleep. Som Sleep has the scientifically advanced Som Snack drink. It has ingredients that are naturally found in your body, like GABA, magnesium, and melatonin. Sleep is the best form of recovery, as we all know, and it's helped people everywhere take their games to the next level. All you have to do is drink one serving of Som Sleep 30 minutes before bed, and your body will naturally calm itself down. Other sleep supplements leave you feeling groggy in the morning, but not Som Sleep. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to conquer the day. All you have to do is go to getsom.com, enter the code BATS, B-A-T-S, at checkout, and you get 10% off of your entire order. So, like I just mentioned, the 2023 Baseball Hall of Fame election results finally came out. Kind of underwhelming. I'll be honest. We talked about this maybe last week or the week before. It's just, I don't know. It's just lost that pizzazz. It's lost the luster. It's lost you get like 4 guys in on the same ballot. I don't know. So the one player elected by the writers this year was Scott Rowland. He will join Fred McGriff. McGriff was a unanimous selection by the Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee in December. So try saying that 10 times fast. So those two guys will be heading up to Cooperstown this summer. I've always wanted to go to the ceremony in the summer. I've been to Cooperstown, like the museum itself, twice. It's like my favorite part of the country up in upstate New York. But it's interesting for Scott Rowland because this is a guy, his first year of eligibility way back when, he only got 10%. And then he climbed from 10% up until he had 76% this year to get in. You don't really see guys start at 10 and get in. What do you think this is a case of? Do you think it's a case of like the people dug more into the analytics because he was a high WAR guy, Gold Glovers too. So what do you think was the deciding factor you think got Scott Rowland elected in this year?
Well, hey, perseverance, by the way, of just waiting it out. I will say this, and seeing it or experiencing other players, or just knowing having the chance to know people, as great of careers that they've had, the waiting around part to then be validated. This is the final step of every player, is to get validated to the Hall of Fame. Like that's what you hope to be in, especially if you're a really, really great player for a long time, or you were so consistently good for a long time. And that's where I think like the Scott Rowland talks came in, right? Scott Rowland was consistently good. And if you look at, I know offensively his numbers, if you look at the whole body of work, is it the craziest thing? No, but I mean, he had a stretch from 98 to looking at 2002 where he had 25 or more home runs in each of those years, and he was providing Gold Glove level defense. And to me, we're talking about like the eye test. That was a player that caught my eye when I was a kid, and so to your point, I don't know. We talked about this a little bit before, Justin. I don't know how writers, where they stand on how they want to vote guys in and how they do it, because by a measurable standpoint, Scott Rowland, then, if you're looking at numbers, I mean, he had 316 home runs, less than, actually only had 2,000 hits, but he did play for, he debuted when he was 21 and retired when he was 37. So I don't know what the parameters are here. I mean, we talked about this. I mean, what is the voting system now? Like what do people value? What do you value?
I mean, I think I remember because I watch a lot of like the roundtables discussions on MLB Network, and one thing that like I've learned to appreciate more is like it's just all about the peak. It doesn't matter how long that peak is, but if you had like, even if you had like a 5-year stretch that you were one of the top players in baseball, like that's still good enough. Like, yeah, his 316 home runs in 281 average, like they don't jump off the page to you, but what was the stat I saw? He has a career WAR of 70.1, and it's the 9th best among third basemen ever. So it's like, if you dig, peel back the layers of the onion, and his baseball reference page is not like the sexiest thing ever. Like, I don't know. I saw like, I wanted to see what the people were saying about Scott Rowland's election. And, there's no better indicator of that than the Instagram comments of like the post where he got elected. And here's some of my favorites. The Hall of Very Good is leaking. Thought that was good. They're just letting anybody in now, is what somebody else said. And then here's another one that I thought was interesting too, where it's like, somebody said Omar Vizquel was better. And I'm like, I forgot about Omar Vizquel. Omar Vizquel had 2,877 hits. He had more Gold Gloves than Scott Rowland did. I don't know why. I mean, he had to play longer. I think Omar Vizquel played 24 years. But like, why isn't Omar Vizquel in, but Scott Rowland's in? So it's like we're kind of nitpicking the guys that have no steroid affiliation, but like we're good.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole topic of, what is this what is the standard now? And it is talked about with guys, if you, whether or not the steroid era happened, and clearly now that has affected voters' thoughts. And I get it. If you don't want to bring guys in because of steroid allegations or confirmed steroid use, I can completely understand. But on the flip side, I feel like we're losing the understanding of what qualifies for guys. And I think that's where, as fans, you wonder. But I also will say this, especially just seeing it, we don't see careers lasting that long anymore. Like the true great ones, and yes, you could deem that as being a Hall of Fame career, but then keep this in mind. Scott Rowland, then, like I just said, he had a 16, 17 big league career. And of those years, I think he won 8 Gold Gloves. He was an all-star in 7 of those, and he was the Rookie of the Year. I mean, you could say it's very good, but the consistency of his career was very good. And to be a Hall of Fame player, you have to be very good for a long period of time. And the kind of I'm happy for Scott. I'll say that. I am extremely happy for the player because, like we talked about earlier, you get validated. This is the last step. And I will say the longer, even though you're on the ballot, even though you might have no thought that you're going to get in, every year if it gets brought up and you see how many people vote for you, that can't feel good. That can't feel good with the guys that are maybe creeping up a little bit or the guys that percentages stays nowhere. So the fact, to your point, that Scott Rowland went from such a low percentage to finally reaching the goal of Cooperstown is awesome. Do I personally think he deserves a spot in Cooperstown? Absolutely. And I'm happy that he's going to get his recognition, this summer.
So I went ahead and I looked for the 2024 ballot and I wanted to see what the storylines for next year would be. The only person that I can really see that could be like surefire first ballot is Adrian Beltre. Adrian Beltre. Now that's a guy who has numbers that like they better than Scott Rowland. Like Beltre had 477 career home runs to Scott's 316. Beltre had four-time All-Star. He had 5 Gold Gloves, 2 Platinums, 4 Silver Sluggers. Like Scott Rowland, I think only finished in the top 10 for MVP voting once. It's like, and Adrian Beltre almost won it one year. So it was like, yeah, if I'm going to plant my flag and I'm going to stake a claim to somebody that I want to be in Cooperstown, I'm glad Scott made it in just because, yeah, like all the reasons you said, but like, I don't know. I want Beltre next year. Todd Helton just barely missed, by the way. Todd Helton got 72% of the vote.
It looks like he'll be in the next year. I mean, rarely do you see a guy get that close and then the next year, regress so much. So it looks like Todd's going to have a chance as well. But you're right. I mean, it's going to I'm just curious with the future ballots, as long as some of these players in the steroid era, where it's going to land. And I think that's going to be a question we're all going to wonder. And then, so it's Scott Rowland and Fred McGriff, correct? Yep. So, and look, I mean, you could take that one away. Give me your opening thoughts on that.
On just the class itself, or a Fred McGriff selection.
Fred McGriff selection with that process. I mean,
his biggest thing was that he never got to that coveted 500 home run number, and he played in that era where guys were clearing 500 easy. So he kind of like was a victim of the era that he played in. I think it's cool that we had this thing that God, what is this committee called? Just, for bar trivia night, if you get get this question, it was the Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee. I think I saw they meet yes, write that down. I think they meet every 3 years. It's like a cycle of them. You mentioned Harold Baines, the pride of St. Michael's, Maryland, who got elected in a couple years ago. He was elected in on the Today's Game Era Committee. So apparently the Hall of Fame just has these committees of guys that I think people aren't 100% clear when they meet or who's on it, but they'll put them in when the BBWAA writers don't. So we have that as a fallback.
Well, we do. And again, so with all of that going on, there's so much confusion. I think fans, then they sit here and they go, well, so how do players get elected? And then when you look at a guy like Fred McGriff, where again, if you're playing in a certain era, there's allegations, whatever it may be, you can say that, but then how do you go about this? And for Fred McGriff, almost hitting 500 home runs, and keep in mind, there's only X amount of players in the history of the game that have done that. And now I get it. If you have steroid confirmed use, it's going to be brought down. Like we've had this discussion. Barry Bonds to me was going to be a Hall of Famer regardless if he took steroids, but would he hit 700 home runs? No. Would he hit 500? I don't know about that. But was he a talented player when you look at him? Yes. And I think that's the part where I want the eye test to still be there. And I'm glad, at least for Fred McGriff, they go, hey, did Fred have a Hall of Fame type career? And they're able to look at that and assess it even years later. Yes. Which is great. But this system, I'll tell you what, like, I don't know, maybe it's social media more, Justin, but because people now are releasing their ballots early and there's just like this fuel and anger or frustration from the fans of feeling like writers have too much control on the situation.
Good way of putting it. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a very imperfect system, but it does provide good fodder in the offseason when there's kind of like this dead period where there's like all the good free agents are gone, most of them. We're just waiting for spring training. That's going to start soon where it's like X number of days until you see like the trucks with the bags heading down to Florida or whatever. But it's good. It's good stuff to talk about. I had one last thing about the Hall of Fame. I like looking at this every single year. It's the guys who got dropped off the ballot who received less than 5%. It's unfortunate. It's hilarious that some of these guys received one vote. But I like whoever put them on their ballot. So these are the guys that will not be on future ballots. Bronson Arroyo got one. R.A. Dickey also got one. John Lackey, Mike Napoli, and Houston Street all got a single vote. That's 0.3% if you're playing along at home. That didn't cut it. And then here's some people that didn't get a single vote. Matt Cain, Jacoby Ellsbury, Andre Ethier, Orioles legend J.J. Hardy, Johnny Peralta, Jared Weaver, and Jason Worth, Orioles minor league legend Jason Worth. These guys will not be on the ballot anymore. I just think for those guys, it's just nice to be like on it. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you ask like JJ or whoever, it's just like, did you think you were getting in? No, but like, it's just a nice experience to have your name appear on there.
It's an honor. And he threw out R.A. Dickey, by the way, just completely transforming himself and becoming this ace in the most unconventional way possible. And, creating this, later in his career, when he won the Cy Young, he was All-Star Cy Young, 37 years old, 2012. And then he won a Gold Glove the following year. Shout out. I mean, hey, knuckleball pitchers, we love them. I don't like facing them. So shout out Mickey Janis. Close friend. Yeah. He knows I hate the pod. He is a guest of the pod. But it just goes to show, like, it is cool. I think even though it's sad to see them go off the list, to your point, to be considered and for fans to get, you get nostalgic. Like just right now, like you think back to some of the great memories, and JJ Hardy still to me is one of the best shortstops I ever watched. I talk about a guy, if you want to look at going to play the position the right way, not flashy, making every play and being that good, go watch JJ Hardy. Please. He is just the example. This is a JJ Hardy endorsement forever.
Yes. Hall of Famer in our minds. Doesn't matter Absolutely. What BBWAA people say about that. I would have voted for him. He would have gotten 2 from us.
And you're not going to say that he was, well, actually, I'm going to say it. He was a huge part of bringing this kind of core together, especially defensively for the Orioles during that time. It was one of the best free agent acquisitions in the history of the Orioles franchise. I'm done now, Justin. I'm sorry.
Didn't they trade for him though?
I thought they signed him.
I think they traded like.
No, they didn't.
Are you sure?
I am pretty sure that they signed him. Now you're going to make me go on Spot Track or whatever to look this up. Let's see.
He was traded by the Twins with Brendan Harris to the Orioles for Brett Jacobson and Delmarva Schwarber's legend Jim Hoey.
Oh, he got traded, then he signed.
Yes.
He's a free agent that next year. Then he signed a deal. Then he signed a 3-year deal. I am wrong. I am mistaken. Best.
I didn't want to be
one
that
of the
guy.
Best. It's okay. I love being wrong. It feels good. I'll retract my statement. He is one of the best acquisitions that the Orioles have gotten in the history of their franchise. When you're going to look back at it, he made that much of an impact, and he didn't get, to me, enough credit. Is that better?
Yeah, that was a time when the Orioles weren't like a premier free agent destination. So like, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if we're gonna get guys, we're gonna have to trade them here.
Yeah, well, and again, that's what I'm saying. But his presence changed, changed what the Orioles were doing in Baltimore, and there was only during his time playing, not too many were better than JJ at the position. So I retract my statement. My name's Ryan Ripken, and I was wrong about how he got acquired by the Orioles.
I take no pleasure in bringing that fact to this.
It's okay, and I endorse that I was wrong there, but don't get used to it.
Ping pong legend JJ Hardy too. So that was kind of our Hall of Fame wrap up. Here's an under the radar story that's going to impact baseball for 2023, and I haven't heard a single soul talk about it. It's the fact that baseball has balanced their schedule for 2023. Like you talked about the rule changes, the bigger bases, all this other stuff that's coming to baseball for this next year. They just snuck this one in there too. It's for the first time since interleague play arrived in 1997, the schedule will be balanced. Every team is going to play the other 29 teams at least once a year and visit each city at least once every other year. So if you're an Orioles fan and you're wondering when the NL West is going to come to town, I always thought it was cool when like the Dodgers would show up. I'm like, damn, you never get to see the Dodgers. But they're coming now, probably. Actually, don't fact check me on that, but you get the point. So instead of playing, are the Dodgers coming to Baltimore this year?
No, just continue on.
TBD. Instead of playing your division 19 times a year, which for so many years, if you're the Orioles, again, we're just gonna keep using them as an example. You just have to have the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Jays, and the Rays come and just whoop up on you 19 times every single year. I think there was a year that like Tampa got us like almost they maybe went 18-1, or maybe they took the entire. I don't think we won a single game against Tampa one year, and that's how Tampa got in the playoffs. So no more of that. It's 13 times every single year. But I love this. If you're an AL East fan, you're like, stop, just chill out with the Yankees and the Red Sox. Let's have some different teams come in. I love this.
Yeah, you know what? To your point, I thought that initially when the news came out, I was like, oh, that's great. And then it just disappeared. Just poof, gone. And then now the season's about to start and you're going like, wait a minute. Because everyone's like, man, the AL East is so loaded, which it is. You go, well, wait a minute. Now, they're not playing each other as much. Weird. And then looking at the schedule, you were right. So fact checking you, the Dodgers are coming to Baltimore this season. They are coming in July. Shout out you. You are right.
Get your tickets now.
Yeah, get your tickets now. You're right. I'm wrong. Don't get used to any of that, anybody. But you're right. It's an exciting thing because the drama that people want to make the arguments about, trying to have a fair schedule. And last year at one point, it was saying that, they're using the example in the AL East that four of those five teams had a legit chance at the playoffs at one point. And you look at the AL Central, that was really struggling. Now, obviously, the Guardians picked it up, and there was that. But also from the fan experience, isn't this what you want, Justin? Don't you want to see players that, say it's the Padres, say it's the Dodgers, say teams that you're not going to see? Like, isn't that the ultimate goal for entertainment, is to bring teams from out of market to a place that you can enjoy and watch?
Absolutely. It's the whole, like, we need to bring Shohei Ohtani to more places than bring him. I'm sure Toronto would love to see Shohei Ohtani. I'm sure like Miami, or just like there's places and there's cities that people that want to see these stars from across the country. But it's just like, yeah, for so many years, you would just only get to see the people in the division. And I went and looked it up. In 2021, the Orioles were 1 win, 18 losses against Tampa.
Pretty good. And
that's a lot of the reason why they made the playoffs that year. Those 18 wins. So yeah, it's going to be so great for that. Like the Phillies went 16-3 against the Nationals in 2022. The Mets, they beat up on the Nats and Marlins to the tune of 27 wins out of 38. So it's like, if you're a bad team, you're like, oh, thank God, no more of these ass whoopings, please. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be more fair. It's gonna be more balanced. Like, I'm so excited for the season to start. And you're right, also for seeing some West Coast teams come east.
I was thinking initially when it first came out, I was going, oh man, the rivalries aren't going to matter as much, because you're dropping games. And when I thought about it, then I'm flipping the switch on it where I'm going, it actually might even make them even more impactful because there's only X amount of times that you're playing your division to make up ground, especially in each division. So think about it. When you're facing each team, how this format's been in the past, you always knew when it's circling on the calendar, you'd go, well, hey, it's a divisional game, or if the team's in front of you, this is the series that we can make up some games. And yeah, that now holds true, but now it's even more magnified that you have to win those games even more. It's not so, well, we'll have another chance at them. It's like, well, no, you got to take your chance. You got to be ready to play them now because it's limited. So that part to me, I think, is going to make the division races really exciting. And I think that's what you want as well. So bring the players around the country and to Canada, and let's see some really great finishes, hopefully, in the at the end of the season in the division and wild cards.
That's such a great point. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you're right. When there's only 13 games and you have to play to make up some ground late in the year, well, you better make them count because you don't have 19 of them anymore. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be so much fun to watch.
Dodgers, Padres. Can you see that tension? Giants, throw them in the mix, and you're talking about Boston, New York. They already don't like each other. Then imagine them just duking it out, where maybe they're both in the hunt, and I'm excited. I'm ecstatic. I can't. I just want baseball to be back. It's close. We're close.
Yeah, right in January, pretty soon. Yeah, pretty soon we'll start seeing those big trucks loaded up with duffel bags with bats sticking out of them, and the mascot putting the last touch on the closing the door. We're like we're almost there. But here's a shocker. I found an Orioles story I wanted to talk about really quickly. Mike Elias went on 105.7 The Fan, and he said that he still hopes to add another starting pitcher to this Orioles rotation. And I think just kind of the general theme from the Birdland faithful out there, it's just like we haven't done enough. And we've talked about this where it's like they have made some moves like Adam Frazier and James McCann and Michael Givens. Like they're good, but they still were needing that big splash, that marquee name that they can say, hey, we were good in 2022. We're going to be better in 23. Here's a guy for you. So it's just, I'm wondering what the temperature is out there from all the first time, long time callers that were probably chiming into 105.7 as we speak about just like the direction of the Orioles. Like they're going to have the 29th payroll in baseball this upcoming year. It's only gonna be 64.9 mil. I don't know. Can you kind of speak to what Mike said? He wants to add another pitcher. Do you think that's going to happen? There's not a lot left.
I'm sticking with kind of what I've said all along is that he looks at the value. He looks at what's there and what can fit the mold of the team. And I truly believe he was looking at the value during this free agency, and they were targeting guys, wanting to go after certain guys. Is he going to disclose all of that? Absolutely not. But just from what I've experienced and seen, he does his homework. He is very analytical and methodical about what he wants to do. So I believe him that they're looking. But once again, depends on what fans' expectations of what that looks like. And his expectation is I could get a guy that's a very good value, that's a veteran that can help, and maybe down the road it's a big name pitcher. That's the thing for me is I'm not expecting a big name pitcher right now. And keep in mind, I think it's going to be interesting. That's why you want to give yourself flexibility with some of these young arms. And we'll get into some breakout candidates later on throughout MLB, but that's where I took it with Elias. But I think at least for Orioles fans, just want to tell you, they are trying to make the right decisions, and they are looking to make the ball club better.
It's another thing that I found, I don't want to say interesting because I think that's one of my most overused buzzwords, but intriguing. They haven't given out a long-term deal over a year. All their deals this offseason has been 1 year. So I guess that's that payroll flexibility. I don't know. It's different in football because I'm a Colts fan, and it's like the general manager for so long didn't sign free agents because he's like, well, we have to take care of our own. We have to give these guys like Quentin Nelson a big extension or Shaq Leonard. Like all these guys are going to need to get paid, and we're going to be the ones to do it. It's different with the Orioles because they're like, arbitration is just a whole different ballgame, but it's just like, I don't know, man. Can you spend a little bit on free agents? You're like, I think we're getting outspent by Tampa.
Well, and I will say this. I think that everyone's perception, and it's with every game plan, I don't think that the Orioles were ready to be in this position. Not that they didn't have the talent to, but just you needed to see it happen. And then last year was the unexpected year that you thought that realistically, if we're being honest, you thought that was going to be this year that the team was going to make this leap. And they just exceeded all expectations last year. And now that there are these high expectations that the team's ready to go. And sure, could the team go and compete for a playoff spot? Absolutely. But then you got to keep in mind this team in the game plan, it might be another year before they're going to kick into another gear. And that's going to go with a lot of these young players that come about. And that's where this whole cycle goes. And then once that tunnel or that pathway opens, and now you have that time frame of the team being good, then anything can happen. But right now, the door is opened, but it's not. We're not through it yet. So I think people just need to be patient with that.
Okay. I like that. I like that message that, all the people out there in Birdland. It's just like, okay. But it's a lot of fun to get angry about it, though. I will say.
Oh, I
Like,
mean, isn't that a part of it? Isn't that part of just to show, wear your emotions on your sleeve
yes.
for everything that's good and bad?
Yes. It is very fun to complain. It's not even just about baseball, just about anything. It's so much fun to complain. But we're going to try to do less of that. We're going to try to be, more rational. Wait till we get to the draft.
2023.
Wait till we get to the draft and he takes somebody under slot, though. Then I will start going on a tirade again. But that's a different story. That's June. We have a lot of time between now and then. But put that in the tickler file. I will be mad when they go under slot again. Anywho,
mark that down. Write that down. So write down that you're gonna have a tirade in June, and then also write down for all those for trivia of the two groups. Go back and listen, or maybe Justin will repeat it at some point of this episode. The two groups of the Hall of Fame that help with voting, because I already forgot their names. But
today's game era committee and the contemporary baseball era players committee.
I'm not even going to repeat that. Not going to repeat that because I still can't remember that. Write that down.
Write that down.
Write that down. Write that down.
All right. Couple last things before we get to our interview for this week. Our feel good story of the week is brought to you by the sponsor of the Breaking Bats podcast. It is the original Fudge Kitchen. Fudge makes you feel good. And the feel good story is brought to you by them. They are a staple of the Jersey Shore. They have 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. They make all their fudge in store guaranteed and delicious products. So stop by, let them know that Not For Long Media sent you. Check them out online if you want to have it shipped anywhere across the country. Fudge Kitchens with an S.com. So I saw this. I think Aaron Judge went on the Tonight Show, and he talked about his coming back to New York, the triumphant return from free agency, and he told a story about his teammate Anthony Rizzo. Kind of, I don't know if you want to say help sway his decision or maybe assisted him in making that decision, but he said that Rizzo just was texting and calling him every day. And then the real kicker, and for all the dog lovers out there, I'm sure they'll love this, was Rizzo was sending Judge pictures so Rizzo and Judge's dogs are friends. And so they would Rizzo would send photos of their dogs walking around the outfield at Yankee Stadium, and just, maybe helping say, hey man, don't leave this. Like my dog and your dog are BFFs. So keep that in mind when you're making that decision with the money in the offseason. So, yeah, I thought that makes you feel good and warm inside, that for all the dog lovers, it's like a dog and Anthony Rizzo help bring Judge home.
You can't put a price on your dog's happiness. And so Rizzo, yeah, sure, $350+ million is great, but is your dog happy? And the question is, he probably wouldn't have been happy outside of New York, so, but it's just awesome, right? It's awesome that the dogs become your family, pets become your family. And it's just also greater at the highest level in one of the most competitive places in the world. One of the tactics, and even if it's a joke, is, hey, your dog's going to be lonely. Think about him. And who knows, if the Yankees go on to win a World Series, the dogs could be the ones that the Yankees fans can thank.
They better get a ring or something.
They have to.
Give
them puppy rings or whatever. However, I got to think of a better term, but yeah, give it to them. They deserve it.
Yes, absolutely. So our last thing for this week, breakout candidates, 2023. I love doing this. I went around, I grabbed a couple of them that I think are really going to come on strong in 2023. I'm going to start with one of my favorite players, and I've talked to Brian about this a lot, is because Corbin Carroll is my first one for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's their center fielder. Corbin Carroll just makes every guy out there, because he's 5'10", 165. And if you've ever looked at a picture of him, like, the guy doesn't, no offense, but he doesn't really have like giant arms. So it just, the sleeves of his jersey like swallow his biceps. And I know that feeling all too well, because that's me every time I put on a jersey too. But I don't know, it makes guys like me feel better about ourselves. So Corbin Carroll, first breakout candidate, also led baseball in sprint speed, fast as hell. I can't wait to see a full season of Corbin Carroll. I'm going to watch more Diamondbacks games now.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, he's, again, isn't that the awesome thing about baseball too? You can be any size, shape, height, weight, and you can have an impact, and a great impact. And obviously he's got a lot of upside. He's got a lot of people excited for the Diamondbacks, or he's one of the reasons why they are excited So I'm excited with that. But I'm going to flip and give you a name also because they're in the same discussion as far as, and to me, it's not a sleeper, or a breakout because I think it's going to happen. That's Gunnar Henderson with the Orioles, and especially the scene around him. But we talked about this, Justin. Both players, highly rated, highly touted, can bring a lot to the team. So Gunnar, to me, is the type of guy where he has all the intangibles, but he also just doesn't have a ceiling. And it's really I was going to use a Michael Jordan reference, which is the opposite. The ceiling is the roof. I just think that's hilarious. Gunnar Henderson doesn't have a ceiling. And I think that's the exciting part with his game is that he can hit from power. He can run. He can for average. And I think he has the ability to be a very good defensive player. And he has a rocket for an arm. There's so many things to be excited. And I truly am a believer that he is going to be a MVP in the next 5 years. But for this season, Gunnar learns quickly. And I think that he is my favorite to be the rookie of the year this year in Major League Baseball.
Ooh, I like that a lot. Within 5 years. Yeah. I mean, he has that level of talent, man. I watch him fly around the bases. Like he's slick. Everything he does just like makes it look easy. And he's got a sweet head of hair too. So, easy guy for Birdland to root for.
And it's interesting with both Carroll and Gunnar. Both are extremely young. They're only 21, I believe, 21, 2 years old. So it's in a really exciting time for both of them. And we have a chance possibly to see two players that could be staples and possibly, building blocks or cornerstones for these franchises moving forward. Absolutely.
I'm gonna give you guys one. And this kind of goes with our guest this week. It's Texas Rangers third baseman Josh Young. He is the 36th overall prospect on MLB Pipeline's top 100. He everything first of all, the Rangers have needed a good third baseman for a while ever since Beltre left. But his first at bat was a home run, not too bad. And his career minor league slash line is just outrageous. He's a career 311, 381, 538 slash line in the minors. So this guy, I can't wait to see a full year from him because I've watched him tear it up in the minors. He was a very high draft pick. He was the 8th overall pick in 19. So yeah, give me Josh Young, maybe a fantasy baseball sleeper too. We'll have to start thinking about that too, because that's coming up.
Hey, and that's what matters to a lot of people, and to the point of also just the success of the Rangers. And he could be a big part. You already seen the pieces that they have. Imagine if your breakout prediction comes true. This Rangers team, who already is building some momentum, could be a force out there in the AL West that maybe teams aren't talking about enough. So I like that one. I think it's great. I'm going to jump back to my list now. And it's going to go. This team was in the trade or in the news recently with the trade, the Marlins. I'm going to go with Edward Cabrera. Okay. And Edward Cabrera, for those that don't know, super talented pitcher. He's with the Marlins. He debuted in 2021. Only 24 years old. Last season at 14 games, had a 3 ERA. But here's the thing for me. It was almost 100. He has great stuff, but he hasn't put it all together yet. And yet you can look at it and go, well, he had a 3 ERA. When you face him or you see him in person, you can see parts of his game that are still not fully there. But I'll tell you what, and I double down on this with the 3-0 take guys. If he can get it together and put everything together, the Marlins are going to have possibly the next best duo coming out in Major League Baseball. So I expect him to make a jump this year, and which is going to give Marlins fans something to be really excited about. And there's also, by the way, I was seeing all these rumors about, well, he was on the market for trades, and then the GM for the Marlins came out and said he's not moving, he's untouchable. And when you're hearing that, you're realizing because teams want him and they see that he has so much talent to provide. Circle that name right now. I think Cabrera is due for a big year.
I like that. The Marlins just always feel like they can develop pitching, or they can acquire pitching and just turn them into absolute studs. So yeah, that's 1,000% something I'm going to keep an eye on this upcoming season. I have another one. He's a pitcher. He's a national shocker. It's Cade Cavalli. So he's the 55th overall prospect in the MLB Pipeline's top 100. This is a guy that was drafted in 2020. Yeah, first round in the 2020 MLB draft. And then in 2021, he went from high A to triple A. He bumped all the way up to the top level of the minors within one season. I looked at like his little like bio, and it's like he says he struggles with his ability to fill up the strike zone, especially against upper level like competition.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got like a rocket fastball, can touch triple digits. The Nationals are going to need some starting pitching because you don't know what's going to happen with Strasburg this year. But I mean, Cade Cavalli has to be breakout candidate though.
Oh, I agree, and this is a part of this new Nationals look. You know, the names of the Strasburgs, even Scherzer, than the Soto, the Harper. They're looking for someone or some players to now take over and be the new faces, and Cade has that ability. To your point, though, he's got to be able to fill up the strike zone and be consistent around there. But man, does he he has a flamethrower of a fastball. That thing has life. That thing is heavy. And he has the intangibles. He moved quickly through the minors, but to your point, he has the stuff. He has the ability to. And boy, wouldn't that be great for Nationals fans to see another pitcher with the system come up there and make an impact? He's got a good chance. I like your pick. And I'm going to raise you my last one, and I'm going to raise the bar a little bit for my expectations because to me, he's already on the breakout, but I'm breaking out to a point where he's going to be a Cy Young candidate, and that is Tristan McKenzie on the Guardians. And for those that don't know, Tristan McKenzie is a very long, lean. It feels like I remember facing him. When he releases the ball, felt like his arm is just about to drop it off to you, and it's right on you. That's just what it felt like. He's got so much zip. But here's the thing: last year he had a 2.96 ERA. In a surprising year for the Guardians. But you're going to say, well, he had 11 losses, and that is what it is. But a 2.96 ERA, almost got to 200 innings and struck out 190. To me, he's right on the cusp of being a player that can take that next step to being one of the top 10 to 5 pitchers in the AL. So I'm going to go with him. I believe that he is going to be, and especially for the Guardians, success this season, he makes that jump, the Guardians are going to be right in it to make another playoff push.
Love that. Yeah, he was money in the playoffs. I mean, that guy.
So good.
Love that. Love that pick so much. You're right. 3 ERA, and people might look at that, or 2.96, be like, hey, well, he's already kind of broken out. But it's like, yeah, what if he can get that down to like the low twos? And then he can, take those 11 losses and flip some of those to wins. Like it's going to be a Cy Young, perennial Cy Young candidate.
Well, and that's the thing, is that people look at it and go, well, you're telling me he's already pretty good. But the thing is, what you need on a team that's really trying to take the next step, you need that dominant ace. And you already have. Don't get me wrong, the Guardians have had their fair share of some great ace-like pitchers. But now you're looking at a guy that's on the cusp. And you saw what Dylan Cease did this past year with the White Sox. To me, McKenzie is right around there to put that together. And I'm excited. I think, and we're talking about fantasy baseball, I think he's going to have a great year.
So good.
Mark it down.
Yes, write that down. So that was our breakout candidates for 2023. We have our interview for this week. It is with Silver Slugger award winner Nathaniel Lowe, your first baseman for the Texas Rangers. We taped this one last week. It was so much fun. Just listening to Nathaniel break down, just like, going from the Rays where he talked about his struggles to, latching on with Texas and just really being given an opportunity to go out there and play every day. I think, I think he said that was like one of the most valuable things in his career, was just like, hey man, just go out there and do it every day. So I know I enjoyed it. I know you did as well. How much fun was that?
Oh, honestly, he is a great interview, and also just a great guy to get to know and talk. And I think for all people that are just interested in baseball, interested in just kind of life discussions, he's got a ton of them, and he's a guy you need to watch in the Rangers. We enjoyed it. I think that everyone listening is going to really enjoy hearing all the great things we had to discuss with him.
Absolutely. Card carrying members of the Nathaniel Lowe fan club, Ryan and I are. So it's so much fun. But before we get to our interview for this week, we have 2 last quick words. Wanted to give a shout out to our apparel sponsor of this podcast, Actions Over Words. They are an apparel brand with mission of encouraging people to use their actions instead of their words. They donate $5 for every sale they make to charities around the world. Go to actionsoverwordsapparel.com and use N4L promo code for 10% off. And finally, go to the Not For Long Media family of podcasts. We have tons of great content for you to check out. The Colin Thompson Show is firing on all cylinders with football content. We also have Two Girls, One League and Odd G's with Harry Mays and Jason Martinez. All right, with that all being said, let's send it over to our interview with Texas Rangers first baseman and 2022 Silver Slugger Award winner, Nathaniel Lowe. Enjoy. All right, joining us this week on Breaking Bats, we have Texas Rangers first baseman Nathaniel Lowe. He's a two-time recurring guest, friend of the pod, also 2022 Silver Slugger Award winner. That's it's not too shabby. So we're very glad that you're back on here, Nathaniel. It's so great to see you again. How is everything? How has your offseason been? Tell us all about it.
That's nice, man. Yeah. First off, thanks for having me back. But yeah, things are good over here. Been back and forth between Texas and Orlando, kind of, seeing a bunch of people going back and forth, training at the stadium a little bit, training with my group here. And yeah, we're definitely ready to get rolling in the home stretch now. And it's exciting. The spring training is so close, and yeah, exciting for the Texas Rangers as a whole.
So much so. We have a lot to talk about. So much has happened since we last had you on in June. But I mean, I want to start with like the incredible 2022 you had. I mean, when we had you on, you were lighting it up, but you really turned it on there in the second half of last year. But just like overall, you finished the year hitting over 300. You had 9 more home runs than the year before. Like, what can you attribute your increase in production to if you had to look back at it all?
Each year definitely has its different struggles. And I went through some struggles pretty early, and it became very apparent that I need to do more damage with better pitches to hit. So I would say that coming down the stretch right there in the middle, and then at the end, I did a lot better job of just hitting pitches to hit instead of worrying about what my swing looked like or how my mechanics were working or things of this sort. And, thankfully it paid off a lot.
No doubt. It's, after 2021, did you challenge yourself to be better in any particular areas, or did you have personal goals going into the last season?
I knew I needed to slug. As far as just keeping in line with the majority of productive first basemen, right? You're going to look at power numbers, and homers and RBIs and doubles are definitely something that are, right in the middle of where you want to be. So, to be able to kind of have some success and be able to really do a lot more damage instead of just flaring singles. And then at times, take what the game gives. And if I have to, hit a knuckle buster somewhere through the infield, hopefully it'll get through, but thankfully I was able to get a lot of pitches to handle right there in that stretch in August and do a lot of damage.
It was incredible. I don't know if you ever nerd out on some of these high fan graphs or some of these baseball analytics outlets, but I read this big fan graphs workup about your 2021 versus your 2022. They broke it all down. There's a couple of things I wanted to ask you about and know that or ask if they were conscious things, your numbers against sliders in 2021 versus 22. In 22, you were one of the top 3 hitters in baseball in terms of sliders, and 11 of your 27 bombs were sliders. Was that something that came as a result of added work, or how did that all kind of shape out?
Let's see. Well, there's probably another piece to it on their side too, that a well-executed slider is probably the best pitch in baseball, right? Because it's going to come in hard. It's going to have some depth to it. And you can really make it start in a whole lot of places where your eyes may not tell you, okay, this is going to be a ball. Because as a lot of hitters will tell you, yeah, the heater in and the slider down and then look really similar, and one of them hits you in the back foot and the other one comes back over the middle of the plate. So if you're going to roll the dice and swing at that pitch, then when you don't get the result you want and you wind up swinging over 3 or 4 sliders in a game, then yeah, keep throwing them. But when they start in the right spot, they're already spinning right and they're coming in harder, and all you have to do is hit it. So yeah, I don't know. There was never an adjustment where I was like, okay, well, I'm going to dominate sliders, but it just kind of happened to be what the game called for in that stretch, and I was able to capitalize.
No doubt. And another point that Ryan, do you want to jump in?
No, I was just saying you for sure did. You keep going. I got a couple thoughts brewing, but you finish off with when you started, Justin.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was just going to say and also in that piece that I read, they talked about, and you might even touched on this in your answer a couple answers ago, but it was you sacrifice some of your plate discipline for what they call responsible aggression in the strike zone. Is that a fair way to assess your approach at the plate going from 21 to 22?
So, yeah, okay. So one of our beat writers actually kind of took that quote and ran with it. And then it got to our on-field reporter. And because I knew that I needed to be a little bit better, actually a lot better with pitches in the heart of the plate. And I called it being responsibly aggressive, right? Because you have to be not afraid to swing and miss, right? You have to be not afraid to, yeah, you get the curveball that sometimes it looks like a fastball and maybe you're coming unglued to do something. Yeah. But you have to be aggressive responsibly. So why would I shift my vision to a part of the plate that's not my strong suit, right? I need to get better at what I'm good at already and incrementally increase in what I need to improve on. So yeah, I think I just finally got more comfortable with realizing that the right pitches and the right counts are where you're going to do your damage. And when you're doing damage, your A swing is going to show up. So why would I try and create an A swing to cover bad pitches to hit? It just doesn't make sense.
Did that cover the bases for you, Justin?
Yeah. No, did you want to hop in?
I would love to hop in. Hold on a second here. So,
yeah, so just talking about it or looking at it for you, and it's kind of the evolution and understanding, right? Of, you go through so much time to get to the major leagues and to get up there, and then you're going to have this transition period. One, you have to have so much success in the minor leagues, or at least to the point where they feel comfortable for you to take the jump. Then you get up there, and then you're trying to figure out another level, right? And then you saw it all come to fruition, obviously, last year. Did you ever feel, prior to then, because the last 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken, you played, I think it was 157 in both the last 2 seasons. Does that sound about right? Like you were in there.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So which that, as we know, as a hitter, that is the thing you want. You want to be in there as much as possible. Having said that, did you feel mindset wise, was that something when you got to the big leagues that was something you were trying to adjust to, of how do I get up here and how do I stick? I know you mentioned hitting for power, but
yes, that was definitely something that I struggled with personally because, coming up in Tampa's organization and then being subject to the system there offensively, you're not going to play every day. And it's crazy going from being the man on your high school, college, lower level minor league team. Then you start to realize, okay, maybe I can have some success in this game. And you get to the upper levels, and then all of a sudden you get to the major leagues and then you play 3 days a week. Well, guess what? In the East, those right-handed pitchers that you face 3 days a week are Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon, and you name it, another Yankee right-hander. So you get to miss the lefties. You don't play with Rich Hill in Boston, and then a couple more days off, and the next thing you know, you're jumping back in there for another right-handed fireballer, and it doesn't matter who you're playing at that point because it's been 3 days since you started. So, yeah, it was definitely an issue and something that I let bleed into my game because I thought that I could get 2 hits in 1 at bat and make my case to stay in the lineup, which is something that a lot of players really struggle to do and something that I struggled to do. But, I owe so many thank yous to, even though we had to go through a 102 loss season and then a 96 loss season last year, I owe so many thank yous to the organization in Texas for leaving me in the lineup, because consistency and a chance is really, truly all that you can ever ask for as a player. And they gave that to me. And I know I wouldn't be where I am today, like, without having to kind of get my teeth kicked in Tampa and then have some struggles last year. And then even at the beginning of 22, like, there were points where I was like, man, maybe I'm just not a Major League Baseball player. Like, maybe that's not who I'm supposed to be. But the game has a funny way of kind of giving you a little bit of gratification for some hard work and for sometimes when it knocks you right back down. But, it doesn't feel bad for you at the same time. So as long as you keep going and get that consistent chance, you got to make the most of it, but let the game come to you.
I love that. I mean, that's the thing. So Justin maybe can pin that, because the thing that's funny is you're talking about this, And this is someone, I mean, I'll blow smoke up your ass right now. I mean, you just balled out last year, right? So you're playing against the best players. I guess that's the point I wanted to get out was you just had so much tremendous success, but yet you are still having doubts at the highest level of how hard this game is. And I think that's a point where when we're so young, going through the other stages of to get to college, to get drafted, move up the ladder, we feel like we have to be perfect and we feel like it's got to be a certain expectation, but it's kind of the journey, the process that you got to ride with and grind with.
Yeah.
It's so the thing I'll say with Texas, because I know it's been rough, and it can go two ways with teams that are losing. You can look at it as an opportunity, and another thing, sometimes the vibes, the energy. You know, Justin and I have had this conversation. When you're on a team that loses, it's harder. When you're winning, it makes it easier to focus on going out there and trying to get things done. Did you ever have a balance of that, or did you feel like the spirits in Texas still were high, or you were able to obviously find a certain mindset for you to focus on, staying in a groove?
Yeah, that was hard to compartmentalize, especially the first year. Coming from Tampa, but even before that, we won a state championship in my high school team. My Mercer team we were pretty good, but I didn't play, so I don't know. I wasn't that involved. But my sophomore year, we won the Mid-Florida Conference at my junior college. My junior year, we won the SEC. My short season team, I'm pretty sure low A, double A, and triple A went to the playoffs. Shout out to the Durham Bulls because they got that factory going on over there.
Goodness.
Too.
Unbelievable.
Get called up to the big leagues, and in 2019, I'm there in September for the clinch party for going to the postseason there. 2020, I was I didn't play a whole ton, but I was part of a regular season, you can call it that, right, for a team that wound up in the World Series. And then all of a sudden the team record takes a nosedive, and you kind of have to adjust to how can I be a good teammate but still look out for me, because it's tough to play winning baseball on your own, and 102 losses are not one person's fault. There's a community of struggle. So yeah, I mean, it takes a toll on you, but it's the cliche of, you've heard it before, the only two things you can control are your attitude and your effort. So if you can show up with a good attitude somehow and give 100% for the guy next to you, then the game, I'm not going to say it's guaranteed going to reward you, but you'll find more successes, I think.
We've talked about, Texas, and, they've, we just mentioned it. Like, they're a team that's on the come up. They've, had some struggles this last couple of years, but have you still found time to, appreciate the 2022 that you've had, despite, and you might have even talked like after like the last game of the season with reporters. I think that's what I was reading, where it was like, the team success isn't where we want it to be. And that was your main focus at the time. But, despite all that, were you still able to just look back and like reflect on what was a career year?
Here and there, but they're definitely, like, go look at my May split. My May was horrible, and going forward, I need to figure out how to avoid a 3-week skid. Maybe we can find a way to squeak out a couple more hits, and we turn that 3-week skid into a week. And yeah, it's going to happen. It's never going to turn on the entire time, but if there are ways to minimize damage, then that's definitely something that I feel like I need to learn, and something that I need to be better at in the coming seasons. So yeah, part of me is proud of what happened in 2022, but I think there's more room for improvement than maybe what's met by like the bigger standard, right? I don't know if my verbiage there came out right, but I don't know. I'm trying to say, like, yes, I'm happy with it, but yes, there's a lot of room to improve.
Any goals or any things you're working on this offseason for 2023?
Man, I got to get my glove figured out. It's not like, it's just, I made some mistakes this past year, and that's, it's my fault. There's definitely times where, as good as it's going at the plate, it feels like it's going the polar opposite in the field. And that's part of what I need to do to make myself a dominant major league player instead of just being a pretty good hitter. I got to run the bases better. I have to move better and take care of my body a little bit better. There are just, some things like that could be some pretty general statements that would just say, like, if I can sum it all up, I just need to be a better baseball player. That's it.
Wow.
That's an easy sum up. I mean, I think that we get so caught up, and it is fantastic. We know it's just to stay up there in the bigs. It's no secret for a position player. You got to hit, unless you are an uber shortstop, that's glove is so ridiculous, or you're such a versatile player that can play so many positions. You really got to hit. There's no way around that. So you understand. But I think for everyone that people get lost on that is there's so much more to the game than just being a good hitter. And actually, that reminds me with Tampa. So I always felt like, first off, whatever the juggernaut that is the Durham Bulls every single year. But I'll tell you what, Tampa was a team when people would ask me when I said, hey, why look at their numbers stat wise, the stats wouldn't always tell why Tampa was winning. Yes, pitching was good, but hitting wise, you look at Tampa's lineup 1 through 9 last year, there wasn't anything crazy, but they did a lot of other little things right. So essentially what you're saying, you're trying to focus on making the little things better to make you an overall, the sum of your parts makes you your ceiling even higher.
Yes. I mean, I can think of one play in specific where I made a bad read on a ball that bounced off the wall and I got tagged out on the back of my shoulder as I was sliding into home plate. That's like 6 inches from another run scored, right? And every run scored is such a big deal for the team. Like, pitching is so good, guys. Runs are so hard to come by. Yeah, we were out of the playoffs pretty early. Yeah, that's how it went. But there's still things that, can make yourself valuable and can, like, push your other teammates to have a higher standard. Because it takes, like, Tampa takes 30-ish pitchers or whatever it is on the option train, or the guys that get hurt, or the guys that fill in and make spot starts, and the closer that's throwing the 4th inning one night and then opening the next night. Like, it takes a big collective effort of a high standard to win at the major league level. So yeah, there are things that I definitely need to improve on, and things that I can work with the staff with and work with my teammates with in the next couple of weeks and in spring training to hopefully show a whole lot more success coming this year.
You said something really interesting in terms of what you're looking to do for 2023. And you said that was to take care of your body better. From the outside perspective, when you see a player that plays almost 162 games, 2 years in a row, you might not think that would be like as top of mind. But in your case, it sounds like it is. So what does that look like in terms of things that you could do differently health wise? Because from my perspective, it seems like you're pretty durable as it is.
Yeah, but durable doesn't tell the whole story of all those pieces of cake and ice cream on the airplane. That's what it is. I'm not going to say it's a problem by any means, but just an area that I could get better at. And, this window of opportunity for us is so finite that why would I not try and get the most out of it, So maybe it's skipping out on a couple extra meals here and there, or cutting some sugars, or staying away from soda, or even something so simple. But, if that's one step, if I gain one step over the course of a month or a half or 162 games, like, maybe that one step turns into another 3 runs scored. And those 3 runs scored help all kinds of metrics for a player and help the team win.
Hey, I'm with it. I don't know. I'm a huge ice cream guy, and I did cut some down myself. But so first off, what's one of your go-to ice creams? Like, if you were like, yep, I'm going to chow down on, like, are you a traditional vanilla chocolate guy? Do you like to get a little bit crazy? What do we got?
Man, Seattle has the best soft serve in the league.
So every time. So what's the go-to when you're out there in Seattle?
The soft serve machine in the clubhouse. It's in the
chocolate
clubhouse? Swirl.
Oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The vanilla, the chocolate, and then I'm pretty sure you can, if you do it right, you can put them together in the same cup. They do a pretty good job.
As a non-baseball player, that just blows my mind that they have. I mean, I've seen Moneyball. Do you have to put, like, when you go to Oakland, do you have to put like dollar bills and to get like a Coke out of the
No,
stadium
that's not true. The clubhouse staff in Oakland is awesome. The clubhouse staff in Oakland is awesome. Those guys take great care of us.
But so the whole comfort food stuff, I was just curious because I didn't know if you're throwing some sprinkles on there, throwing some toppings. Like I'm a pretty plain ice cream guy as far as with no toppings. I was a huge mint chocolate, cookies and cream. I used to eat like a gallon at a time. That's probably why I've dropped from 245 to 220. But to your point, taking care of your body, because those little things kind of matter and over a stage. And when you're seeing now how many players are, you're looking at some of the other stars in the league that are longevity, so is that, I know you don't have you're not going to put a timetable on how long you want to play, but I'm assuming you'd want to play as long as you're physically able to.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So in that case, I feel like the most cases everyone looks at, once you get past 30, it's once you get past 30 years old, there's a difference. So it's very interesting. The only other caveat I'll ask you then is, because we're talking about comfort food when things are tough, what do you do when you were going through some tough times or frustrating? What was your outlet? For some guys, it's, you got to be outside of your hotel room or talking with friends. Maybe it's playing video games. What did you specifically do to help you, maybe take your mind away from the field?
There are a couple hobbies, a couple things like that I would say bought up a lot of my time, but there's definitely like seasons of life, right? And for some guys it's some things, and for some guys it's others. And I'm like, as a believer, right, we're kind of tasked with this idea that there is a higher being that created everything, and we're called to somehow love other people, right? Mm-hmm. And I go in phases where I kind of stray away from that, and I get really selfish, and in the season it really becomes all about me. But as far as physically doing stuff, like I golf a lot, I'm into photography, I have some pretty cool hobbies. I'm kind of rediscovering I can read books, even though it's just kind of something that I was away from for a while. So yeah, I don't know. This winter's been fantastic. I got a great group that's pushing me to get better on and off the field. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool winter so far, and I'm excited to see the coping mechanisms during the season and how much healthier they are as I'm growing. We'll put it that way.
How's the golf game going? When we
Dude,
had Josh
trending,
on, he said that
it's trending in the right direction.
I like it. Do you still go with your brother when you can?
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. And I guess you guys just reposted a clip about how he misses being my golf partner and all that other stuff. But with this, with the recent trend, I'm pretty sure he's ready for a break from me on the golf course.
I have some questions coming up later about Josh, so we'll have a little teaser of what's to come there. But no,
sure.
That's great. It was so much fun having you on and then having him on, just to hear the different perspectives of the brothers Lowe there. So we'll definitely have to ask you some more about that. But going back to baseball though, this next season for the Rangers, it's gonna be a fun one because a lot's changed this offseason, including a new manager and Bruce Bochy. So I'm sure you're like Ryan and I, where it's like we were just big fans of like the early 2010s San Francisco Giants teams. How excited are you to have the opportunity to like play for Bruce Bochy now?
And Boch is awesome. I met him a handful of times already. And actually, when I was like up in your neighborhood playing in the Ripken League, I actually played for a guy who was like really good friends with Bruce Bochy. His name is Bruce Hall. So if Bruce Hall's listening, hey, hope you're doing great. And he actually, crazy story, had told our college summer team, like, hey, Boch and I are good friends, whatever. We're going to go to the game tonight as a team on an off night, and he's going to get thrown out. We're going to go to dinner. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And sure enough, Boch is arguing balls and strikes, I think, in like the fourth. gets run, and our Bruce stands up and makes his exit, and they went to dinner that night. So yeah, if Boch is gonna step up and really get on umpires for us, and stand up when he needs to, and be the backbone that we need, then yeah, that's exciting. And he's won, or at least the groups that he's been a part of has won a lot. So it's definitely exciting to see, the organization's commitment to bringing winners in, because that's a culture thing. Winning is a culture thing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more on that. I think it's an exciting time, and especially now, with Bochy coming in, some of the offseason moves. I think last year was kind of the feeling that Texas was going to make that jump. Now you add a couple more pieces, obviously, a giant piece. Where do you guys feel on the sense now, especially with some things changing in Houston? And Houston's the kind of team, and Seattle's on the upcoming, but everyone thought the Rangers were going to be that team. And again, this could be you to pump up the Rangers here, but why do you think the Rangers can help make that step to being a postseason team for 2023?
You saw the free agent signs so far.
Pretty good
on paper. On paper, they're pretty good. But yeah, man, we have a gold mine in Dallas. We really do. It's the stadium's incredible. It's such a great sports town. There's so many places around the DFW that are so attractive to all kinds of players, right? Whether you're an option player, an ARB player, or signing as a free agent, there's something that could cater to what you want to do, right? We've got so many guys that come in and their families are so happy. Like, I don't know if you guys remember Ian Kennedy, but he's 14 years deep in the major leagues with a whole army of kids, and he found an RV park that he could park his RV in. And then, Seager and his wife are in the category, that they're in as far as payroll, and they live in a really nice neighborhood that's great to raise a family in. And Simeon's right down the road from him with their 3 boys and a family. And Evaldi was, when he came through a couple of weeks ago, he had his kids with him. So, there's just so many things outside of the park that make Texas so attractive to the right people. And not to mention, we're right across the street from AT&T Stadium, so the Dallas Cowboys are right there. Our marketing department is tight with the hockey and basketball teams, so we're in American Airlines Arena if we want to go down there. It's a lot of things that are really attractive to a lot of different players, and happy players perform better. And Texas is a place where you can thrive and be happy. I really do think that.
So what about if you're not playing anymore? Are you endorsing we all move to the Dallas Fort? Because I might be sold now. My buddy was obsessed with Dallas, and I'm like, oh, I heard it's great, but now you make me want to just buy a one-way ticket right now.
I'm telling you, man, and don't get me started on golf courses. This winter's been a treat. As I started to get more connected in the community over the summer, and some people within our organizations helped me make some connections outside, and spend the All-Star break at 3 different country clubs in 3 days, and then have some amazing hosts along the way. And then I've been so fortunate to meet the right people coming down the stretch of the season that said, hey, come out and let's golf. We're going to go to this country club. We're going to go to that country club, and places that I would have never thought that I'd be getting access to. But yeah, they welcomed me with open arms, and even the staff when I get there, hey, Mr. Lowe, nice to see you, blah, blah, blah. And maybe that's a treatment that they give everybody, but at least when you walk in, you feel cool for the time being. So it's been a blessing, man. These people in this community really truly want the best for us, and when I was able to have a little bit of success, they liked it even more. So yeah, it's exciting for the future.
You mentioned that other players have their own little piece of the Dallas Fort Worth area carved out. What is your Dallas Fort Worth area? What does that look like for you? What kind of things are you doing? What do you like to do around town? Have fun? What's your DFW experience?
So I live incredibly close to our exit to the airport. there's the special service deal that we get to go to on the other side, and it's it's pretty cool. And where I live, I'm probably less than 3 miles from a strip with so many restaurants that I haven't even gone to all of them yet. And yeah, it's nice to see like there's shopping and golf and restaurants, and the stadium's far enough away that yeah, if you have a bad night, you're not bringing work home with you. So I just like having options, and feeling like I'm living in a neighborhood, not just staying in a rental for the time being. So that actually worked out really nice. I wound up moving around the All-Star break and just getting into a place that I would have never thought that I would have wound up in. And apparently there's a lot more hits in that house than the other house. So yeah, that was the best part.
Dude, that's so awesome. Yeah, I have a buddy that lives in Denton, I think. It's like
Oh yeah,
it's the coolest
right down the road.
it's the coolest little piece of of America ever. It's and no state income tax too, which I think we might have glossed over that throughout all of this, but pretty sweet.
Stay in that house.
There's a lot of upside.
Stay where you are.
Yeah. We touched on like the additions that the Rangers have made, but there's one in particular, Jacob deGrom, like the cornerstone, obviously, of this big offseason for Texas there. Like, what was it like when you found out that he would be your teammate?
Dude, we actually had inklings coming down the stretch there. Like Kevin Plawecki was the inside source. He would swear, dude, deGrom wants to come to Texas. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. deGrom wants to come to Texas. No, I promise he does. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, like you guys have seen the ads that Steve Cohen's making. You guys have seen the kind of payroll that they're had. Like, there's no way you're going to let one of the arguably the top 3 right-handed starter of our generation walk. And then he signs and he's a Texas Ranger. It's like, okay, maybe we're doing this thing, It's cool, man. It's an exciting time to be a Ranger for sure. And I'm glad that I don't have to face him. We'll put that out there too.
Had you ever faced him before?
Yes. Yeah, I faced him in 2020.
Dang, what was that like?
He made a mistake and I tagged him, but when he makes his pitches, you walk back to the dugout and you have to like it. He hung me something slower in an AB previous, and the next time I think I had a runner on second, third, and I take two heaters at 100 at the top and the cutter's 95, and I walked back to the dugout and went, well, okay. When guys at the top end like that execute, you're supposed to get out. So there's no point in getting frustrated. Yeah, there's times where you need to do something a little special and put a ball in play, but again, he's one of the best right-handed pitchers of our generation, hands down. So it's cool to be able to play with him.
Yeah, you're just glad that he's on your team now, as opposed to on the other side of the dugout there.
Absolutely.
Ryan, did you want to jump in?
Oh, I'm liking where we're going. I was just kind of thinking of the guys. You say you had a good hit off, or you luckily had a little success. I mean, is there one guy that, whether he's a generational player or not, that you just did not like seeing, whether it's in the minors, majors, that you just sat there and you went, you know what, for whatever reason,
I just got no chance.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but you just mess me up. We won't show it to that person either. Or it's reverse psychology. Yeah, to see. Exactly. And then we can tag the person hypothetically. But no, I mean, or reverse psychology. It's 2023. It's a new thing. We're superstitious creatures of habit.
Dude, Cole took me a long time. To get a hit, and it was like, I get why, but I'm walking back to the dugout with my bat in my hands going like, surely there's a hole in here somewhere. Like I see it fine. But yeah, they got me on a day in New York in a doubleheader. I think I punched out 6 times in one day, and it was bad. And yeah, it was just frustrating. That's when I felt like I just walked back to the dugout and I wanted to put my bat down and see if I could stretch my shoulder and get back on the mound. But for the most part, for the most part, the game works in cycles, right? So you get somebody one day and they can turn around and dominate you the next day. So I don't know. I try my best not to look at my previous records with people. I know I struggled for a long time with Marco Gonzalez too. It's just a frustrating fastball, man. Like stays, but it's fat, but it's soft, but it's hard. It's like just funky. So, it's just one of those quirks of baseball. And he had my number for a really long time. And maybe I squeaked a couple of singles to kind of remind myself that I can do it. But there's a lot of them out there that have their fair share of success against me. So that's why we just got to keep going and try and avoid. I think trying to avoid the human being behind the jersey, right, is the biggest part. Because then when it gets personal, you play emotional baseball, and sometimes emotional hitting is just bad news.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that emotional, and we could keep moving, but baseball, I mean, I think everyone can look at, you watch football, you watch basketball. I mean, for me, I played basketball just as much as I played baseball growing up, sometimes even more. And I could use the emotions of getting pissed off more to my advantage. Baseball is really challenging to do that because if you got too frustrated in the batter's box, you lose control of your plan and trying to not tighten up. One, have you ever found a way where your emotions helped you to a certain point? Or two, how do you keep yourself in check when you can feel yourself getting a little bit worked up?
Question.
Again, throwing you on the spot here, so I apologize, but just thought it was interesting when you brought up the emotional.
You signed up
hitting.
for it. I think more than anything else, adrenaline and emotion kind of hurts. I can think of plenty of times where it works the opposite direction, where you try and hit the 5-run homer and do the Bugs Bunny swing through a changeup that never gets there. But for the most part, if you have a chance to call time, step out, breathe, and realize okay, there's a task to be done here, then I find it a whole lot easier than just trying to stand in there and hope it goes away, right? Because my legs are going to shake on opening day. I know for a fact that my first AB, my heart's going to be going 180 beats per minute, and the ball's going to look yay big. But if it for some reason it finds my barrel, then the game will kind of click back to normal again. But yeah, more times than not, I think emotions hurt in baseball during the play than they do help. Now after you clobber one or you sit me down on an A pitch, yeah, let it rip. Don't show me up, but let it rip. But more times than not, when emotions are part of the play, you're in trouble.
I'm with you. I don't remember a good emotional at bat for myself. I think it's led to probably dozens and dozens of broken bats, strikeouts. I don't think I was a guy that broke a ton of bats in the dugout per se, but it can lead to that.
Over your leg?
No, I'm not strong enough to do that, Justin.
No,
I'm not. I'm too. I don't know if I have the stones to do that either. But
see, I don't want to try it out of the sheer terror that I do try it and either hurt my leg or the bat doesn't break.
That's the other. That's the other thing is that injuries that happen with people being too emotional. And I see that. I still remember when I was a kid, I was in the locker room as a little guy. And I remember, not going to name the guy, came in and we talked about this. Justin, you heard the story before. And so mad, I was playing PlayStation, Nate, and all of a sudden hear all this ruckus, and then wham, the pitcher slammed his head against the concrete wall, broke his hand. And I know we've heard about it, but those are the things where emotions, not just in the moment, but your emotions after it, never turns out in baseball, but it can just bring out so many. But it really is truly the only sport where, you can't feed off of it. In basketball, someone can elbow me and I can get fired up and that can lock me in and make a play. But baseball, it can't lock me in like that. So I'm glad you touched on that because baseball is special for a reason, and it's hard for a reason.
Right.
So
I don't know about you guys, but if I swing at 100%, I just need to go sit back down. I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to hurt myself and I will not hit the ball. Like if I swing as hard as I can, right? If I were to get mad about something and just take this huge gangster hack, like 11 times out of 10, I'm not hitting the ball forward fair. It's just not happening. Or if I do, it's hitting an inch and a half above my thumbs and my bat's in 12 pieces.
And that makes you feel even worse.
So what
makes you feel so good about yourself? So then when you're saying about 100%, then what are you trying to think? I mean, I'm not saying a percentage, but like when things are going really well for you, what's it feel like to you? What do you feel like you're actually swinging? And again, it doesn't have to be a percentage, but is it?
Oh, you're just
it's almost effortless.
You're just touching it. Yeah, when you find the groove, right? When you find your hot streak, because I don't know, the more you think about it, right? Seasons are made on one really good month and then a couple okay months. Okay is different for everybody's standards, and then you're going to struggle for some point. But when you're in the groove, right, you're just hitting the ball, right? That's all I can do to explain that. You just get a good pitch and you hit it, and when you hit it right, it's just going to go. And if it goes out, it goes out. If it doesn't, maybe you hit a double, or if an outfielder catches it in the gap or at the track, like I still hit it over 100 miles an hour. I'm pretty sure I won. I just had bad aim.
I like that. Yeah, you're not thinking. You're just you're not overthinking too. And I think when things are going well, you just you ride the ride. It's like like the Happy Gilmore thing. It's like up, down, around. I've said that a couple times and stuff. Like you're feeling it. You're just going with it. So that's cool.
Feeling the flow, baby.
Feeling the flow. There it is. All right, Justin. I'm sorry. I got carried away. It's just these things will pop in. But
no, it's great stuff there. I had a couple of fun last questions for you.
Sure.
So the day that you came on our show last time, I think it was June 1st of last year, you came on in the morning, and then that night you took Jeffrey Springs deep down in Arlington. Did that thought cross your mind as you're running the bases? You're like, I did that for Brian and Justin.
Gosh, I wish that were the case. I was just so upset. I was not a happy camper, and like the worst part is I've heard it from multiple people, like the travel secretary, people that have played with the guy before, like, yeah, Springs is a really nice guy. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he is, but you throw it high and tight, you kind of poke the bear, and then you hang me something. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get pretty upset about it.
I remember this now. There was some stuff before this. Okay.
Yeah, there was a lip reading that came out, and somebody that was deaf decided to send in the transcript of the expletives that I decided to tell Mr. Springs as I was running to first base. And it's nothing personal, but sometimes competition brings out the worst in all of us. So, you throw it at my face, that's what you get.
I feel bad because I didn't remember that component of it. I just thought it was a fun moment.
That's a part of the game. I love it. There's moments, it's not personal. It really isn't. And there's certain lines. But when you get those moments, those competitive juices, yes, they can bring out some things you might not want to say, but that's the nature of the beast. It really is.
Can you guys do bleeps on here?
Yeah, you can cuss it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to cuss on the internet.
Do you want me to cuss?
At some point, and it doesn't matter to me, but at some point it's going to come out. All right, I'll let it go.
Yeah. It's okay. When you're comfortable, you can curse, but just keep in mind, like I'll say it right now. I'll say shit. I will go and say whatever. I have a couple other things coming out on my own personally, and it's not going to be filtered. So you're your own person, but I respect you. You're a gentleman. Justin, next question.
Yeah, we'll keep it moving. It's all right. So last time we had you on, we talked a lot about how first basemen become like hitting coaches / therapists. What was the best first base conversation you had this past year?
I don't even know. There's no way I can have a best, right? It's just like every day it's something different. And with the different guys that I get to see in division, I might have mentioned it previously, but Jared Walsh is on my short list. Ty France is a good conversation. Yuli doesn't say a whole lot just because language barrier, but the guys in division are fun. And then it's a rotating carousel in Oakland. Seth Brown's usually got something good to say. The rest of the guys that work around first base there, that's it just depends on the day. But I don't know. I think having Stephen Vogt come over was a treat. I get to see him in the twilight days of his career. Like he's a beauty, and he didn't have to talk to me. He's 35 years deep in his career, and I'm still a baby by terms. But yeah, there are definitely some guys that came through that I was just thankful to have shared the field with.
Stephen Vogt's such a good one. Every time I think of him, I just think of him doing the Matt Foley in the van down by the river. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip.
Yes.
Does a great Chris Farley impression.
He has a just spot on impression of our old field coordinator from Tampa. And it was one of the first times that I ever met him, and he just snapped into it. And I went, oh my God, you're hilarious.
He's such a gem. Yeah. Congrats on a great career. That guy had a long run there. I did have a question because you're one of the few people I've seen in Major League Baseball today that still rocks the mock turtleneck. Where did that love for mock turtlenecks come from? And is that like, I don't know, was that like a Chipper Jones fandom or something?
Yeah, that definitely had something to do with it. It was just kind of a throwback look. I saw, actually, I'm gonna give some credit to Andrew Velasquez, the Squid, right? Because Squid was rocking a real old one with a little Rays logo right in the middle of it. And I think he used to work out in it or something. I remember seeing him with it. And if you guys know anything about his fashion choices, like kind of off the wall, but he pulls off literally everything. So, I see him do it and I see Lindor do it. I'm like, I bet you the classic Texas tee, right, would probably go like really well with some of these jerseys. And now sometimes I see it, I'm like, okay, it doesn't match with this one. And it looks better. Red on red, I think, looks real good. I think blue on blue looks really good. But the white on any color or gray on any color, probably just wear the jersey, But there's there's something to it, man. Sometimes it's got some hits and sometimes it doesn't. So I just roll with it that day. And if it's not 1,000,000 degrees outside, then yeah, more likely than not, if there's a colored top we're wearing, I'm matching with the turtleneck.
It's such a classic look too. Maybe you should like mix in like some socks with stirrups. Has that ever crossed your mind?
Oh, that's part of the wardrobe. Check a lot of my 2021. I wore it, but then I don't know, at times it feels kind of loud, and I don't know, something didn't sit all that great about not playing as well as I want to and kind of dressing like an idiot. So it's just kind of what it takes to grow up a little bit. And but when you're popping, you kind of do what you want. So
ain't that the truth?
I mean, pretty sure there's a song about that.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Damn. The socks with stirrups are just like one of my favorite looks of all time. I think, there's a few guys in baseball today that still rock them, but anytime you do, you have to appreciate it. It's a throwback.
Dude, I wore them a lot in 2021. I'd like to take a lot of credit for some of that revival, but I'm not gonna get too selfish about it. Hey, I'll tell you who rocks a look, who just got traded in Division 2 is Teoscar Hernandez. Those socks, the bacon strip socks that he was wearing with the high top old black Adidas booties and some white with a royal blue stripe on them, that was a good look, I think.
Damn, I have to go back and look at that. I don't think I think of that top of brain there, but so Josh came on this podcast. We talked about it. And he told some great stories, including down at the Rays alt site in 2020. He robbed you of a hit when you desperately needed one. Were you ever able to get him back and deny him a hit down the line?
No, he definitely won that. Yeah, it was. I mean, like he kind of going crazy down. Well, not kind of. Brian will tell you, we were going crazy and stuck practicing every day, and then we get to play a night game, right? A night game where we get like 6 players on one team and 8 on another. So it almost feels like a real game. And, I think we get through 4.5 innings. Like, yeah. But, I creased one. He made a really nice play on it, and everybody went nuts because he made a diving catch on me. And I know he loved it too. But, yeah, I never got him back.
Do you still keep the sibling rivalry going as you both are going throughout your professional career?
Here and there. For the most part, not really. Maybe the rivalry kind of gets more to the golf course than anything personal between us because our games are apples to oranges. I think I want him to succeed and do well at everything he does, and it should be the same feeling the other way. So yeah, definitely some competition, but as far as success goes, I think it's more of us just want the best, or we both just want the best for each other more than competing against each other.
I still love the video the Rays did where you guys lived together. That's one of my all-time favorite. You put hand soap in the dishwasher. It was a sad day, bad day.
Oh man, I thought I was onto something too, and the next thing I know, I get a whole kitchen floor full of bubbles.
Dude. All right, I just had a couple last ones for you. I don't know if you ever check out your own Wikipedia page, but if you ever have, the 2022 section of your pages, they did you dirty, whoever did it. Like, they have you as like your accomplishments or like things notable that you did in 2022 is like you were the first player to strike out in 2 immaculate innings in 1 game, and then you also hit into a 3-6 triple play. Like, these are like things that like they have on your Wikipedia page. But if we were to turn the tables, and if I was to make a Wikipedia account and go in there and put some different entries in there, what's a couple accomplishments in 2022 that are actually accomplishments that you're proud of?
I turned a triple play. How about that?
Boom.
Like that.
Yeah, so flip the tables there. I don't know. I mean, I would probably put on my Wikipedia page that I was the least involved fantasy owner in all of fantasy football this year to make the league final. So that's got something to do with it. Shout out to Josh Spores because he ran my team for me. Oh, what else?
You hit some
I don't know,
bombs, some
man.
450 plus bombs.
Yeah,
but some people care about that.
I had some
450.
good ones. I had some
Fantasy
good ones.
football, triple play.
Triple play, yeah. I didn't pitch this year. One of these years I'm going to pitch. Now with the new rule changes, like I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but one of these years I will get on the mound and at least throw 1 registered pitch in the major leagues because I would love to do that. I don't know. I can't tell you how hard it's going to be, and I'd love to say it'd be above. I'd love to say it'd be. I'd say 82.5 is a pretty good guess.
It's a good line.
You're a strong guy. You could get that.
Dude, I promise I threw hard at one point in my life off the mound, like towards the plate, but that was the thing. It was just kind of like towards the plate, not really over the plate.
It was in the direction of it.
Yeah, my curveball was bad. I like to think my changeup was pretty good, but yeah, I give up my fair share of, missiles pitching to the boys in JUCO. So that's just how it goes. I'm pretty sure my elbow still hurts from the last time I pitched. So, maybe cutting it loose as hard as I can is probably not my best idea. But yeah, at some point I would love to throw a registered pitch in a Major League Baseball game.
Absolutely, because you see some of the position players that do it. And no offense to the guys that get out there on the mound, because it's like the whole man in the arena thing. But it's like you see some like 50-some mile an hour pitches, and I think, you absolutely could get up there and throw some gas.
Okay, here's something. Here, the best position player pitcher that I've ever played with, right? Charlie Culberson. That is, it's not even close. Charlie Culberson has I don't know. The pitching lingo is so like Chinese to me. I don't understand a single bit of it. But he cuts the ball really good and it carries really good. So he throws he gets up there and he throws 88, and you're getting an 88 mile an hour cutter, but it just stays on the plane. And you're like, oh, it's a position player. Surely I'm going to get something to hit. Dude, he breaking bats. He might have gotten a punch out this year. It's kind of sad that he got as many outings as he did, just because that means we were out of that many games. But I will say for the entertainment purpose and for him taking that home with him at night, pretty cool to see him get up there and do pretty well.
I like that. It's like Stevie Wilkerson did that for the Orioles. Got a save.
Shout out Stevie. So do you know Stevie and I went to the same high school?
I did not know that.
I did not know that.
How about that? Yeah. Stevie was a senior when I was a freshman, I believe.
Did you play with him, Ryan?
I did in 2021. And I knew him beforehand in the organization. What he's a great guy. He's a great dude. He likes to keep it light. He's a competitor. Seeing him on the mound was pretty cool. One of my favorite guys to be around for sure.
So I'm pretty sure my high school coach, I don't know if he was at the game or what happened, but they wound up buying the shirts, or I don't know if they made them or what, but the Let Stevie Pitch shirts, like, yeah, that's crazy. Allen C. Pope High School. A lot of the staffers were wearing those shirts. Hilarious. Stevie Wilkerson pitching in the big leagues.
What a legend. Yeah, that guy rocks.
I know, right?
All right, last question for you is I looked back at your Twitter account, and I did see on Instagram that you might be taking a little hiatus from the gram, but you've taken an even longer hiatus from Twitter. Your last tweet was March of 2021. Can we get like a firm commitment, or maybe a soft commitment, that 2023 you're going to make at least one more tweet?
I'm going to think about it. I'm definitely going to think about it.
That's all I ask. Yeah, we've tagged you certainly in enough stuff too. So if you haven't checked your Twitter mentions, it's a lot of us.
As much as I'd like to check my Twitter mentions, I think I'm going to stay away for my own mental health.
Fair.
I'm going to go out there. I'm going to step out on a limb and say that it is tough to find encouragement from Twitter. So there's no point in even looking when half the internet thinks that, I should not play baseball.
Twitter is a place, we'll leave it at that. It is I hadn't been on it. I created one because all my buddies did when we were seniors in high school. I deleted it within the first 3 months of having it, and then didn't get back on until I retired, I guess, in July. And man, especially with the Ravens right now, that just how they lost, I would have thought that the Ravens didn't win a single game this season, which kind of is how it felt. But stick to your mental health. You know what? But just respond to Justin for text. Other than that, you don't have to get on Twitter.
Just do like a happy opening day tweet. Yeah, that's all we need. Opening day 2023, and then you can log off and delete the app again. We just need one more tweet.
Breaking Bats Pod, happy opening day. # content.
Book it.
What a hashtag. That's
Wouldn't hate that. What a way to end it. Dude, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for coming back on. I know you probably have a lot of stuff going on here, as you get ready for the season, but we definitely appreciate it. Is there a message that we should pass along to Brian on your behalf?
Keep hitting bombs.
Yeah. In Korea now, which is so sick.
Keep hitting bombs. Yeah, dude, he's freaking hitting homers worldwide at this point, Pump for him. New opportunities are awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he definitely is Mr. Worldwide. It's the best. Well, like I said, thank you so much for coming on here, dude. It's been so much fun.